Good morning. Welcome to an all-new Eye of the Tiger. I'm Austin Daly.
And I'm Nate Wynn.
On Wednesday morning, an act of vandalism hit the campus. We go to Dan Gunko, who was on the scene.
Thanks, Austin. I'm outside the band room, where yet again, Roosevelt High School was plagued with racist vandalism. Yesterday, first period students witnessed a swastika as well as the acronym for the Ku Klux Klan on the wall. This may have shocked many of the students walking by their classes, as well as the whole campus. I'm here with our principal, David Bird. Thank you for spending your time here with us.
Absolutely.
And is there anything you'd like to say or express your thoughts on the incident that we are witnessing?
First of all, I'm sorry that students have to see that and staff members have to see that, and I'm sorry that I have to see it. I was stunned, I was shocked, I was sickened to come to work this morning and find out that that was there. We're 3 hours later, 4 hours later, and I'm still angry about it. I've gone through different phases of just being sad and being angry, and it's because it has an emotional response for me and for a lot of other people. I'm also just saddened that that kind of thing has to happen anywhere, but certainly on a high school campus. We don't know if it's a student. We don't know if it's someone out in the community. We obviously have no idea about that. But for now, what we're going to do is be vigilant about it. We're going to beef up security. We've asked security to come and give us some support throughout the evening, all weekend, because we know it's the kind of thing that probably happens in the dark of night. We've certainly reported it to Roosevelt PD and made sure that they're aware and they're involved in it so that they can assist us with it, because it's essentially a hate crime. Like I said, we hope it's not a student. We know the vast majority of students at Roosevelt High School are better than that, and they're troubled by it and they're sickened by it. I'm happy to hear a lot of students this morning and anybody who walked by here shake their head and say that's just not cool, that's just not what we're about. So that makes me feel good that I think most kids get that and most kids understand that. Like I said, we don't know it's a student. If it is, it's a suspendable and expellable offense, and then we contact law enforcement. If it's not a student, law enforcement investigates it as a hate crime. So that's how we're going to continue to proceed with it. We're going to continue to challenge everybody who goes to school here. If you see something, if you hear something, you got to let us know. We're going to continue to challenge kids to treat each other right, challenge kids to do the right thing, to support one another, to care about each other. And again, I can be proud of the students that are here who've demonstrated that and shown that, and they make this place better because of that.
I definitely think it's pretty screwed up. That's not an okay thing to paint on any building or write on anything. And yes, we're all entitled to our own opinions, but something as conflicting and contradicting as that's pretty messed up. Having it put on the side of the band room, that's definitely kind of an attack to us. The band room is our home on campus, it's our safe place, and to have someone come and vandalize it, that with anything that would be hurtful, but with something so bad as a swastika and the KKK, that's not okay with us. And it was really a disappointing way to start our morning, because we don't want to see that. And then it makes the school look bad, especially with all the incidents we've had this year, just with what happened at the homecoming football game and the tweet that was just sent out, and now this being spray painted. It gives a bad perspective from the outside to Roseville that these things are now happening, and it's kind of a scary time.
This is a blatantly offensive act, and it's disgusting to have to be covering these issues on the show.
Unfortunately, this act fell during Black History Month, but some students are celebrating cultural diversity. Library Science students are honoring Black History Month with a display of African American literary works in the library.
Books on display in the library include Separate But Not Equal, Native Son, and The Color Purple. Academic lab teacher Keishla Jones hopes students understand the cultural significance of Black History Month.
I think the display in the library is great. I think it goes beyond reading It goes into asking questions, questioning and doing research about Black history. Black History Month was created to celebrate Frederick Douglass, an abolitionist, famous African-American abolitionist. And it was created to celebrate his birthday because his birthday's in that month, but it was also created to celebrate Black history for the rest of the year.
Be sure to stop by the Julie Estridge Library before February ends.
That forced Amy Mauer's first 2 classes on Tuesday to move across the hall into room 916 while they waited for animal control.
Black mass sort of messing with the blinds over here. And so I closed the door and moved the book cart in front of the door and shepherded the students into room 916, where Ms. Dooley graciously let us stay for the remainder of the period until animal control could arrive.
Animal control was not able to locate the bat, but they identified several locations where it could have escaped from.
We now go on to sports.
Good morning and welcome to EOTSN's new segment, Viewpoint, a debate-inspired segment. I am Josh Carson, the analyst, alongside 3-year varsity basketball players Grant Bear and Jason Russell. Sam Toomey is a 3-year varsity volleyball player. The question for today, let's get right into opposing viewpoints. Does having a larger home crowd boost player performance? Our guest today on the show is Grant Bear. We'll start with you.
For me, personally, I think it's having a big crowd, or not even a big crowd, just an energetic crowd. It doesn't matter about the size, as long as you guys are loud. It brings just a different energy, you know. Like, we're always going to play for our team. We're always going to have that energy within our team. But when you get the extra support from our fellow friends and fans, like, it just brings a different edge to the game, and it's a big advantage.
Yeah, just going off of that, I mean, when you're in crunch time in the fourth quarter, you got a huge crowd that's really loud, energetic, and you make a big shot, huge shot, clutch shot in that game, you can see the effects that the crowd has on not just your team, when you guys play better. I know Grant, Jason, you guys can harp on this, but it also gets in the heads of the other team. If your crowd is loud, and it makes them rethink, maybe not focus as much.
All right, Jason, what's your opposing viewpoint?
I can argue both ways for this. I can because personally, I know for us, during I guess the most recent example for us was the Casaba game. Having a huge crowd, it was awesome. It was so fun to have everybody there cheering for us and everything. It was really nice. But I think personally, because the question is, does it boost player performance? And I think specifically it doesn't boost player performance. I think it's more fun for players.
Let's look at a team that only our class here, we're all seniors, only the class of 2017 would remember at this school. But I'll break it down so everyone watching can kind of understand what I'm talking about with this team. This team was the 2014 varsity basketball team with Matt Toggs, Will White, Matt Grasshoff, players like that. Every single home game, it was about the size of your Casaba games. Their home league record was 1-5. So if we want to look at a home crowd boosting player performance and player performance thus contributing to more wins, numbers don't add up for me.
First off, we're talking about player performance, not a team performance, which is wins.
But shouldn't the players contribute to the team's performance to win games? Isn't that what it's about?
Are you saying that players don't play well at home? You feed off of crowds' involvement, and you get more confidence, which in turn, you guys can both agree with this, a player that is confident, like we've seen Tommy Edwards this year, getting confident with the crowd. Sean Granucci, very confident this year, playing at probably their peak performances, getting confidence from the crowd.
Right or wrong, did you not win the last 2 CVC league titles the last 2 years?
Well, tied.
And how many of those games were packed games like the Casaba game with big crowds?
Probably once.
You were still winning games. Why? Because you had great players. That's what matters more than big
crowds.
But
we played our best when we had the biggest crowd.
I went to like at least one of your guys' games, and after every single point, you guys come together, you were yelling, you were screaming. It looked like you guys were more feeding off of each other.
That's it for us today on EOTSN's Viewpoint. We thank all of our analysts and guests for joining us here today. And if you want to spout off about this question on Twitter, you can do it at EOT Sports, at EOT Sports. That's where you can spout off. And we'll be back with more Viewpoint. We're going to be doing this every couple of weeks. So that's it for us today on EOTSN, your home for Roosevelt High School sports, top plays, breakdowns, and more. And now we go over to entertainment.
Thanks, Josh. John Wick Chapter 2 was in theaters this past weekend, and if you didn't have a Valentine like me and wanted to see an awesome action movie, this one may be for you. John Wick Chapter 2 provides to be a sequel that builds upon the first movie and brings back the non-stop action that is a staple of the franchise. Directed by Chad Stahelski and written by Derek Kolstad, John Wick Chapter 2 brings back the same cast and crew as the original and welcomes some new additions in Common, Ruby Rose, and Lawrence Fishburne. This time Wick has to travel all the way to Rome as someone from his past forces him to take someone else out before Wick can go back into retirement. This movie splits its location time out quite fairly between Rome and New York City, and it really works out as you get to see what the assassin world looks like in another country. As this movie builds upon the awesomeness of the first movie by doing some great world building and expanding the lore in the world. John Wick, which is again played wonderfully by Keanu Reeves, is back, and this time his motives for coming back aren't as clear as the first one, but man does he have a vengeance. This movie staggers around 3 main action set pieces. These set pieces are set in the catacombs in Italy, all around the city in New York, and lastly in an art museum. This time the violence is no holds barred, and even more brutal than the first one, and of course there's an awesome pencil scene that I'm not going to spoil for you guys. This go around in John Wick, they really tapped into the dark humor of this movie. During action scenes, I found myself laughing at times because of how funny the situations Wick was in. Another thing I applaud the director Chad Stahelski for doing is not using the stereotypical shaky cam and quick cuts that we see in most action movies today. Instead, he uses an incredible stunt team and hardcore training for his actors to make sure the scenes are in clear focus and never confusing. In the end, John Wick Chapter 2 provides to be one of the few sequels that is as good, if not maybe even better than the first movie. By building up the assassin world and creating even more unique action scenes, John Wick Chapter 2 provides to be a tour de France for Keanu Reeves, as his character looks to be gearing up to one heck of a fight in the final chapter. That's it for my review, and now we go back to news.
Thanks, Preston. The Linnea Festival was last weekend.
Roosevelt High School's theater company's one-act performance, The Katrina Project, won second place out of 17 other high schools at the annual Linnea Festival.
Oh my gosh, words do not describe. It was, this is, we're a growing program. We're, kind of this new little program that's growing, and just the fact that we got recognized in that way for our work and the effort we put into this is just kind of unbelievable.
Juniors Lane Eden and Brooklyn Pontoni performed at the festival and are proud of their achievements compared to last year.
Especially for me, this was my first play I've ever been in, so it actually meant a whole lot because, knowing that I'm good enough to be in a play that got second place just means a whole lot to me.
Gosh, it's incredible. I went to Linnea last year and we got third place, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we got third place last year, and just to get second this year, just to see that we have improved over the past year is amazing.
Junior Cody Beams, a cast member of the Katrina Project, appreciates the collective hard work that came from the company.
I'm really proud of everyone just for how much time and dedication they put into everything that they did. It really just ends up showing.
This is the drama program's second year attending this event.
Sober Grad Night is June 2nd. Today is the last day that the cost will be $100, and then from now until April 7th it'll be $135, and then $150 until May 5th, and the price will rise to $160 after May 5th if there is space available still in the buses. That's it for us today on Eye of the Tiger.
And remember, we're always on EyeOfTheTigerNews.com. See you next time.